Outdoor wood boilers, wood stoves, fireplaces, alternative ways to heat your home other than gas or electric. I have one of these, and you put wood in it. This is a central boiler, classic edge, titanium HD series. The titanium means that they had to put titanium welds, basically, as far as I understand, to make sure the box doesn't fall apart and leak. This is one of the, you can see that I need to change my rope. You got creosote leaking out. Why is it like that? Because of the EPA and corporations that are getting paid or funded or something by the government or cowards. One to two. Mine's a bit of a mess, as you can tell, but it is what it is. Now, what's the issue with EPA regulated boilers? One, most of them now come with fancy computers, digital thermometers instead of analog thermometers. Now, can you probably change those out? Probably. I don't know how to. You have to pay for the Wi-Fi access for an app, which is funny because this is 15 grand. Now, why do I say EPA regulated? Well, EPA said that it's gotta release X amount of particulates per whatever for pollution and everything because carbon's apparently bad even though we're made out of it. Okay, so this is the fan box or whatever you want to call it. The fan stored in here. It's a cylindrical type of, I don't know what kind of fan it is, but it's a fan that blows into little tiny things that open up. We will show you. This is the fan box. That's the fan. These are the things that open up and allow air to blow into the sides of the fire that force the fire kind of downwards into the reaction chamber. This isn't that bad of a, like this is kind of cool. I don't mind, it's kind of easy to clean. These sometimes fill up with creosote because the guys that installed it forward and not, level or, and that's because the slab it sits on is probably pitched the direction that it's facing. But anyways, smart people would have tipped it back if they knew what they were doing. But this one will fill up with creosote, like all the way to the top and everything. Because these are not really wood boilers as much as they are creosote makers. Because like I said, the fire is forced down into the reaction chamber, and that's where the gases get heated a second time, and then the gas, the heat, fire, smoke, all goes out the back, not the fire, but you know what I mean. The smoke goes out towards the back and then out of the chimney. That's cool and all, right? Heat the gases twice, get a little bit more out of your product and everything, blah, 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 more efficient. Central Boiler says that these are like 65% more efficient. See if there's any numbers on it. You can see that it's QC approved. You got your burn responsibilities. You got your maintenance. And that's the door frame tool? I didn't even realize. Anyways, but it tells you combustion, airway. So here's your airways on the side. And this is exhaust pathway. So your smoke has to go down to get out. Smoke doesn't go down naturally, so the fan has to be on to force the smoke down. So as you can see, there is a door back, you probably can't see, but there's a door at the top there that you have to open up that has to stay closed because the fire has to be going down. And you can see all this black stuff. This is all creosote. This box came silver. This is not a black steel box. This is a silver box with titanium welds and everything. That creosote is not worth cleaning off. It is creosote that binds. You cannot prevent creosote buildup in these. And this creosote doesn't burn off because the fire is burning down. The smoke naturally has moisture in it. Smoke, wood, all wood has moisture in it. Then you can completely dry out the wood, which is actually less efficient because the moisture in the wood is, sorry, I inhaled some of that smoke. The moisture content in wood is actually going to make the wood burn longer. Now, the reason why you want your wood at a certain percentage is because of that. This thing loves super dry wood, but because of the creosote issue. I've had this thing up to 2100 degrees, And that is hot for wood. That's metal casting temperatures. This is your hydronic access and everything like that. I lost this screw. This screw don't work very well. It's one of those tension screw things. So that just sits there, and eventually I'll actually screw it onto there so it sits on there nice. But a traditional wood boiler has a fan on the door, right? And when the temperature of the water gets a certain temperature, that fan turns on and basically reignites the flame, gets it up to maybe 900 degrees, and the smoke goes directly out. So all that water vapor, all that smoke, and when the fan turns off, the smoke can still leave because it doesn't have to go down and out. And the heat exchanger is in the back of the box. So when the smoke goes through the heat exchanger, all that heat's going and heating that water that's being circulated in there by the pumps. This, the heat exchanger, is at the bottom. Why? Because the smoke has to go down, up, and out through this. Now, I will show you the heat exchanger. This, my friends, is the heat exchanger. I hope you can kind of see what's going on here. These are probably pretty hot. You're not worth cleaning this creosote off. Now all you can do is keep it open and everything, which they give you a nice little cleaning device for, but if this ever gets clogged up, I use threaded rod because I did get it all clogged up, and then the smoke's got to go up and out. And you know, a couple times a week I scrape this off and everything, and I'll clean out the bottom and everything. I try to leave the coals in the bottom. You want, be honest, ash, you want to work your coals down to ash. Leave a little bit of ash in there because that's actual volume for this thing's throwing some heat. That's mass to hold heat. The more mass you have, the longer the heat stays in there. And my line is only supposedly 2 feet down, but it's not. It's like a foot down. And so this whole area, all the way up to the house, stays thaw all winter. And if that's got no snow, no ice, no nothing on it, that means I'm heating the outdoors, which I asked the guy when he installed it if it's going to be insulated. He said yes, but it's that insulated tubing. It's got like an inch of spray foam in it surrounding the hydronic lines in it. Liars. That's not insulated. That's got an R value of 0.5. But anyways, this will get full of creosote. This is insulated, and I'm gonna have to replace it one of these days because it is just falling apart because this gets creosote on it, sticks to this, you pull it open, pulls the insulation off. Yeah, and I probably need to replace this rope eventually. But this stays pretty sealed. I'm not gonna lie, this hasn't been an issue and everything. This door at least, the door has not been an issue. This is a great design. I love the simplicity of the hinges. If these pins ever rot out, super simple to fix. This is bolted on. Great design. I like that door. I like the front door too. I think that's a great design. Otherwise, central boiler, let's be honest here. You built something because the EPA told you that you have to follow some guideline based off of numbers that a computer generated based on numbers that another computer generated. Now, do I think city people should have these? Probably not. My nearest neighbor is over that hill, and he probably can't smell my smoke. The nearest neighbor to him is another, 3 acres that way. So he's about 2 football fields away, plus over a hill, plus down the hill and everything. So not a big issue around here. Wood boilers are meant for residential area. Wood stoves are meant for kind of residential areas or more spread out areas. And they keep regulating these things. This thing isn't 65% more efficient. It's probably 25 at most. But the perks of the old wood boilers is that you didn't have to burn dry wood in it. You can burn a rotten tree. You can burn garbage in them. In fact, that's the one that this one replaced. The guy did burn garbage in it, which is probably why it had to be replaced. Sprung a leak. If I wanted to, in an old wood boiler, I'd cut this big old wet oak down right now, which is probably not as wet as it would be in the summer, but this nice oak down, throw it directly in there. If this was a traditional wood boiler, not an EPA regulated wood boiler where it's got the gasification, double reaction system. And people say, well, it's nice to burn less wood and everything. And it's like, let's say, you order wood from somebody because you don't want to cut all your trees down, right? So you're going to order some trees from somebody and they drop them off and you're like, oh, great, yeah, this is nice. And you put the chainsaw on it and you know instantly that wood is summer cut. So that's one issue. Two issue, it was cut 3 months ago. And I had that issue. And I got a bunch of oak. Red oak is notorious for taking forever to dry out. So you want winter cut tree because all the sap in the tree, all the moisture in the tree is going to the roots to keep the tree alive. And basically the limbs are dormant, so that's why they lose their leaves, because all the moisture, all the stuff is going down into the base of the tree to protect the stuff. So you actually want the top. You want the tops of the tree and the big limbs of a massive tree such as this one where the limbs are fairly big. This one's dead. You can see that the limb way up there is dying, so this is going to be knocked down. That's a big old oak. So winter cut trees are better because they dry out faster. And I know you should order your wood, blah, 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 and everything like that. But like, let's say that you just got behind or something and you didn't realize, and this thing still will burn like 12 logger cords during a cold winter, which is no different than a traditional wood boiler. So you would think that if it was more efficient that you would see a massive amount of change in how much wood you're burning. I just don't see it. I live in northern Wisconsin. I could throw a rock into Wisconsin from my house if there weren't any trees here and everything, because I'm on a hill and Michigan's that way. Literally, probably more like this away. Nah, probably like right there. If I stood, no trees, I could probably throw a rock over the highway, or not the highway. Well, it's technically a highway, technically county highway. But anyways, throw a rock over that, over the pond, and probably maybe hit it. I could do it with a slingshot. Like, maybe it is a little bit further than I thought. But anyways, being hyperbole here. I live near the north. I live near the UP. It's pretty cold up here sometimes. We get a good amount of snow and everything. So you would think that if it was 65% more efficient, or whatever, say 45% more, I can't remember. Either way, even if it's 20% more efficient, I would see a huge drop in how much wood I use. I just don't see that. You still burn 12 logger cord, which is a full semi of 10 to 12 is a full semi of log. This will not be enough wood. This in the heart of winter, so late December, February, or January, February, this won't even make it there. This will be gone by the mid-December, if not sooner, depending on how many cold nights we get. If we get into those teens and those single-digit nights coming next possible weeks or so, it'll be completely used up. I got a pile of logs over here beyond this dump truck that will be completely used up. I've got a pile of my hands are getting cold. I've got a pile of slab wood right here that will be used up by the end of probably towards I'll give you mid-January. That will be completely gone mid-January. These are fresh cut, can't cut them. These were cut during late summer. Fall, can't use that. Fall, can't use that, or late summer. Can't use any of those. Those will take forever to dry out. So I actually have to cut and split these, let them sit and everything. Up here I got a small pile of wood that I can burn and everything like that. So this is about me complaining about my wood boiler, not about whether or not you should buy a wood boiler or not. You should. I think wood boilers are better than being on electric or relying on gas. If you live in the sticks or you have access to firewood and everything. I live in the sticks. I got that. So when you see a big old split like that, that's a tree system. That should have never made it that old. That thing should have split in half decades ago. So that tree's got to go. We got a dead tree here. Any tree leaning towards the house, I don't want getting so old that I can't handle it myself. So that tree, it sucks because they're all oaks. Beautiful oaks that bring the deer through every year, all year long, because of the acorns. Deer love acorn. I gotta thin these out. There's a group of trees here I gotta thin out. This is why taking care of your trees are important, because if a tree leans too far, it never grows up anyways. It ends up tipping over and stuff like that. So you can't give a look at this tree. This tree's dead. All the top's completely dead, and it's got to go. It's a nice maple, nice sugar maple. But it's dead. This area I clear cut because I'm putting gardens, chickens, stuff like that in. So, is this on? Okay, good. Wouldn't that have been hilarious and everything? But wood boilers, wood stoves are phenomenal ways to heat your house. A wood stove inside that has some sort of water jacket on it, and this heats my domestic water. So the water that I shower with is 185 degrees and everything. Thought about lowering the temperature, but what's nice about, I have hydronic baseboards, so my backup heat is electric because I don't have gas ran to the house. The gas is at the road. I just have to pay the gas company to run the line. The house, which I won't do. I will most likely do propane and be more reliant on me purchasing when I need gas and when I don't need gas and everything like that. So, but until then, backup is the electric wood boiler inside, and it's hydronic baseboard throughout the house. Throughout the entire house is hydronic baseboard. This side of the garage right here is in-floor hydronic heat and everything with a very simple pump. The garage is usually kept at around 40, 45 degrees, and it's a little bit lower than 45. These kind of systems are terrible. Digital ones are a little bit better, but we'll turn that up a little bit because we're gonna put wood in there. But when the water's 185 degrees, it takes time to cool down. It takes time for that. It's when the temperature in your house hits 65, 70, 69, 68 degrees, whatever you keep your house at, that water is 185 degrees in the pipe, which means that when it's 185 degrees in the pipes, your house, if it's set at 60, my thermostat set at 65, it will, by the time your house heats 70, it's actually going to probably hit 75 degrees in your house. You know what I mean? 72, 73 degrees. Because that water is 185 degrees. So you got to kind of calibrate it. You kind of know what's going on, and it doesn't take long to figure that out. So your house stays warmer longer because you have mass. The air has no density to it, really. There's no density to air. Let's be honest here. I mean, there is, but there isn't. But there is to water. So when you heat water, the water stays warmer longer, keeping your house warmer longer. Heating with water is better, in my opinion. People might disagree and everything like that, but you can. So I don't have a mini split. I don't have any forced air, nothing like that. You just suffer in the summer, in a couple of weeks of summer when it's miserable and sunlight's just blasting that window. So living on this homestead, and eventually I want to be completely off grid. I want to be able to run the pumps off of solar, be able to run the house off of solar and batteries, and do all that kind of stuff. So this will work, but when this goes out, I'm having somebody build me a traditional wood boiler. This thing I will never buy an EPA regulated wood boiler again. I don't care what it costs me to have somebody build me a traditional wood boiler that I can use. If I wanted to, I could switch from digital to analog any day of the week. You know, down there is a temperature sensor for the reaction chamber and everything like that that tells you the heat and everything like that. And that's a digital thermometer. It's not a complex one. It's a 2-wire and everything like that. But the computer on this, if this computer goes out, I probably have to buy the computer from the company to mount a new one on there. Or figure out what kind of programming I need and run a Raspberry Pi, blah, blah, blah. And I just ain't that smart. I barely understand analog stuff. I look at an analog clock and I think that's an amazing work of art. You know, because I'm a simple-minded guy. So digital stuff, I can understand. I know how to turn on a computer. I know how to, diagnose, troubleshoot, stuff like that. But it's just much simpler if you can run analog if you have to. Digital makes your life nicer, easier, better, all this other stuff. But analog, if stuff goes wrong, it would be nice just to be like, okay, I'm just gonna throw some analog stuff in it for now, figure out the digital stuff later so that this keeps running. Turns on when it needs to turn on, turns off when it needs to turn off, stuff like that. So, But anyways, I think I ranted enough. If I had to recommend a wood boiler, it would not be these reaction chamber gasification stoves, I think is what they're called traditionally. I would get a traditional wood boiler that has a fan on the front, even though they're illegal to manufacture and sell, I believe, just residentially, maybe commercially now too. But a fan that's on the door that blows directly on the fire, the smoke goes directly out the chimney, right past the heat exchanger. None of this gasification, double reaction chamber stuff, just a simple wood stove that works. Time and time again, it just turns on and it works. That's it, you know? So I might make one myself when this goes out, or buy a used one, rebuild it, something. I'm not a welder, so I don't know enough. I'd have to hire somebody to build me a a waterproof water jacket and everything like that. And I can probably figure out the rest with sensors and temperatures and fans and all that stuff. But this, to me, I resent this. I hate this thing so much. It takes 3, 4, 5 hours to clean the creosote out of it. And you have to clean it out. Oh, your wood's too wet. I don't have a problem with creosote. I don't believe you in the sun. Because when I have to go to work, I have to pack this thing. Let's say it's gonna hit -10, while I'm at work. I have to pack this thing full of wood, which means all the moisture from outside, and I have to take my wood from outside, put it inside to make sure that it's at a reasonable temperature, because a condensation builds frost on the wood, and even that little bit of water will build up creosote inside the firebox. And I've figured this out. So even if I keep my wood perfectly dry, keep it covered, it's still got to go inside and dry off, which is not efficient when it comes to your labor, because not only did you get the log, you cut the tree down, so you touched the wood once. Now you brought the wood twice to your property, or where you're going to cut it, twice. You've now touched it twice. You've touched that log twice. Let's keep going. You gotta cut it into little logs. So you've touched it 3 times. You've touched that wood 3 times. That log gets thrown to the wood splitter. 4. You've touched that log 4 times. It gets better. You now gotta lift it up. 5. You've touched that log 5 times. Oh no, we're not done. We're now gonna split that into little tiny pieces of wood. You split it into little tiny pieces of wood. You throw it into a pile. And let's say you don't stack it. Still touch that wood 5 times. Let's say your pile of wood's right here, in the middle of your driveway, because you were too lazy to clean up that pile. And that's your own fault. Now you touch it 6 times because you gotta throw it over there. Which I just use a skid steer and push it over there, get the dirt all over it. But let's say you stack it. You're still gonna touch that wood 6 or 7 more times because you gotta throw it to where you're gonna stack it or move it or something or another. So no, it's not more efficient, because there are wood boilers out there where you don't even have to split the wood. You can just throw the log into there, so long as you got some amount of split wood in there that created the coals and everything like that. The wood boiler that I had before this one, I could throw full-on oak logs in it, and it would burn them up. It'd take, like 30 hours to burn a log that size, when it's that big around. Anyways, I think I've ranted long enough. Get a wood boiler, but I just highly recommend, if you're rural, you got access to wood, all that stuff, all the things, and this is common sense. You gotta have access to wood. Like, honestly, you gotta not be in an area that says, no, you can't have them in your yard, blah, 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 all that stuff. Building a homestead, wood boilers are great. I think burning with wood I hate processing wood, but man, is it nice. If the power goes out, I can still run a generator. I can still get solar panels for this. The pumps will run. It will work. It will do its job. And we live in America. It's not like we're going to not have power. We will. I know that's, what if an asteroid hits. But anyways, that's it. If you kind of like this content, if you want to know more about the wood boiler, if I didn't give enough details or something like that, ask them in the comments. Maybe I can give some more details. Maybe give some brand stuff to you guys for ideas or whatever. But I highly recommend hiring a guy that maybe knows how to build these and just build one. It's going to probably be cheaper in the long run and everything. And like to build one of these is expensive because it reaches almost 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit for a fire, which just melts welds. I mean, you got to do special techniques and everything. It's not like you could just hire a basic welder to build one of these gasification stoves. So, but a traditional one, they're simple. 500 to 800 degrees, maybe 900 at the highest temperature, everything like that in a firebox. Those standard welds will hold. And if a weld gives out, just clean it up a little bit. And the best thing about traditional wood boilers is when I had mine, I never cleaned it. I just scraped the heat exchangers, and that was it. I never had to spend 3 hours every time I cleaned it, scraping and chipping at creosote. With traditional ones, there's guys that say, no, I don't clean it at all. I've never cleaned mine. I look down the chimney, make sure it's not clogged up, tap it on the side, let some stuff fall out, sweep that out on the ground, and that's how they clean their chimneys on a traditional wood boiler. I'm just saying. Go ahead and comment, like, subscribe, usual YouTube stuff. You guys have a good one.